Welcome back to this episode of the Steve Barlow Lecture Series. Today we're talking about the relationship between France and French Polynesia. We're doing this because we are sailing towards Papeete, our next port of call. The relationship between France and French Polynesia over time has generally been pretty smooth, pretty positive, good for both sides. And as we've talked about earlier in the lecture, we talked about the early period going back to 1842. We talked about the current status, where we are. We talked about the NOMIA 1998 Accord, which still needs to be sorted out. And now we're going to talk about the lowest period in French Polynesia history. And that's because of nuclear bomb testing in French Polynesia. France did 193 nuclear tests in this area, 41 in the atmosphere, blowing things up. To be fair, France wasn't the first country to drop nuclear bombs and do nuclear bomb testing in the South Pacific. The US went to the Marshall Islands. They started in 1946 to the Bikini Atoll, and yes, that is why the swimsuit got its name. The United States did 67 nuclear tests from 1946, ending in 1958. The UK went to Christmas Island, and between 1957 and 1958 launched 8 nuclear tests. France, these are the Society Islands, that's Tahiti. This is where they launched the test, still part of French Polynesia in Moriora and Fangataoufa. Moriora is the one that they use most of the time. It's 700 nautical miles from Tahiti, still part of French Polynesia. France stopped nuclear testing in the South Pacific in 1992. Things were pretty calm. A new regime came into Paris and they said, we're going to resume nuclear testing. They said that in the summer of '95. And there was a lot of peaceful protests going on. Tahiti, other parts of the world, nuclear bomb testing was not really thought of highly. A lot of peaceful protest going on in Tahiti. In September 5th of that year, Paris announced they were going to do 8 tests. They launched the first one on September 5th, and the Tahitians rioted. Nobody expected that kind of reaction, but they went to the airport, they burned the buildings, throwing Molotov cocktails, throwing stones, setting fire, burning cars, and after the riot in the airport, the rioters went downtown and started smashing windows and burning French government buildings. It was major. The local police were overwhelmed. They used their stun grenades, they used tear gas, anything they could to slow down the rioters. And it wasn't until about 300 parachuters and other troops came in, sent by France, to slow down the rioters. Eventually they did. The rioters were quieted. France continued on with 5 more nuclear tests, but in January of 1996, under incredible Tahitian and worldwide pressure, they ceased nuclear testing. Haven't done it since. So they planned 8 tests, did 6. They stopped January of 1996. Since that time, they've been trying to reestablish their relationship, and the rest of the lecture will talk about that and a few more items.